Hi YouTube. In this video I want to talk about the behaviour of my biological mother after I woke up that indicates or shows very clearly no remorse, no guilt, no shame and no conscience. Before I do that though, I need to set the stage a little bit so that these what I'm about to read out makes sense. I woke up in 2013, went through the shock exposure stage, started posting on social media the truth about my mother, not just my mother, but my golden child sister, an ex who I had kids with, and it wasn't until later on that I identified my biological dad and also my brother for being what they are. So before I read out, we know that narcissists love sending letters, cards. You know, it's them attempting to hoover and attempting to control the perception of both their target and also of people outside of the family. So, and I've had letters in the past from both my biological parents using my sons as leverage, or me being a parent to my sons as leverage, in order to basically put me down and to project upon to me and try and tell me that I'm an incompetent parent, which is projective identification, which is what they are. As a parent, I was the total opposite to what they were, because I understood that the way that they treated me was abusive, and I learnt to do the opposite and treat my sons the way that a healthy parent should, because I loved them, and I knew that the behaviours that my parents and also the ex did towards myself and towards my sons was wrong. So I knew that in order to be a good parent, I simply had to do the opposite of what they did. But when I woke up in 2013, there was the exposing them for what they are, speaking the truth, that they're narcissists, that they have no conscience, that they are psychopathic, talking about the abuse, some of the abuse that they inflicted upon me and stuff like that. They then went and behaved in the classic way that narcissists behave, that's been written about and that other abuse survivors talk about when they've been exposed. Narcissists hate the truth because narcissists are walking lies. So how they responded was actually found in one of the articles by Sam Vaknin, where he talks about how they will enlist the mental health industry, the police, and the courts, and how they'll lie to those three institutions and also other organisations as well, in order to try and, if they can, pathologise the target, the truth teller, and also it's to control the perception of others, because they're shit scared that people will find out exactly who they are, exactly what they are rather, because they're not who as in a person. They are what as in brain damaged, personality disordered, incredibly sick, empty, soulless individuals. So after exposing them, I had the police come around to my... Oh, sorry, before we get to that, when I was 27, I was given custody of both of my sons. I have two sons. At the time I was given custody of them, they were 5 and 3 years old. I was given custody of them because, by their mother's own admission, she actually attempted to assault my youngest son, and by her own admission, her own words, she was about to start bashing it. So physically assaulting, psychopathic behaviour, assaulting children, her own flesh and blood. So I was given custody of my sons then, which was awesome, because it basically saved my life and gave me a reason to live and to excel. From there, I raised my sons for the next approximately 10 years. My oldest son I raised for about 9 years. My youngest son, by the time I woke up, was about 10 years. My youngest son still lives with me. He's almost 16. I've been raising him since he was 3. When I first got custody of my sons, I now know that they were both in PTSD, because their mother is I mean, take your pick. You hear one of my favourite YouTubers once described them as being cluster B fruit salads. My biological parents and family in general are pretty much sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists. I mean, a mixture of those things. The X is a true cluster B fruit salad. I mean, very dangerous. They're all dangerous, but also a very dangerous individual. And you think of someone like that who is an obvious sociopath, psychopath, narcissist with borderline and histrionic traits, and then try and envision, I mean, us abuse survivors know what it's like to be around a person like that, but try and envision someone like that who was a pathologized 2-year-old trying to raise children. The environment that my sons lived in, even when I was living with them, I mean, they saw her assault me over and over again. She would put them into fight or flight pretty much on a daily basis with her rage. The amount of psychological, emotional abuse that those two boys had endured from her by the time I got them, and then realizing that being around her had a bad effect on them, not understanding exactly what it was at the time, but being able to give them a safe environment and undo, a lot of the damage. But now looking back, I know that they were in PTSD. But from there, fast forward, say 10 years later, I've 2013. I've woken up. I'm going through the shock exposure stage. I'm speaking the truth about them, and I end up getting a knock on the door by the police. I'd spoken the truth about my mother admitting to sexually abusing me as a baby, and I'd spoken about that on social media, so people knew, So how did she respond? She called the police and claimed that I had 2 daughters who I was sexually abusing. And the police came around, and they were confused. When I spoke to them at the front door, they were like, we're sort of confused why we're here, but we had a report that you have 2 daughters that you're sexually abusing. And I knew straight away that this was part of what Sam Vaknin had been talking about, that this was manipulation of the police to get them to sort of abuse by proxy, and to get them to come around and try and sort of, try and paint me as being a child abuser, which is projective identification, because the people that were doing this to me, being my biological family and my ex, they are the child abusers. They're the ones that have no conscience. So from there, that was the first time that the police came around. I explained to the police what was happening as far as me waking up and my parents being psychopathic, and they ended up saying, well, we're glad, pretty much we're glad that you're okay. They met my youngest son at the time, and they said everything seems to be fine. We're glad that you've made that epiphany, so on and so forth. We wish you the best for the future, and have a good day. And away they went. Not long after that, a week or so, I ended up getting a phone call by a mental health practitioner, someone from the crisis assessment team. So they've called up the psychological industry and lied to them, and taken information out of context to try and paint me as being homicidal and all this bullshit. While this is happening too, narcissists on social media will stalk, and that's exactly what happened to me. They stalked me. I was in groups that were specifically for abuse survivors of child abuse, narcissistic abuse, psychopathic abuse, and I had them and the Flying Monkeys follow me in there so that they could get information, take it out of context, and then call the authorities and smear my name to the authorities, and use it as ammo in order to get, to put false court cases on me and things like that. From there, the psychiatrist calls me up, and so there's abuse by proxy using a authority again. After that, the police came around again. This time, the police were, and this is once again being stalked online, told that they had been told that I was a potential killer and a hater of mankind, which once again was information deliberately taken out of context. This was in a private group for abuse survivors. And this shows no conscience, it shows no boundaries, it shows no remorse, no guilt, and it shows a high level of psychopathic manipulation. From there, I had a psychologist call me again, have to go through talking to this dickhead again. And then, the police that came around the second time, they actually brought a psychologist in, and that's another story within itself. This psychologist wasn't right in the head. Anyway, I managed to get through that, and then from there, they've used all that clout, and they ended up putting 2 false court cases on me, using my sons and using my nieces as leverage, claiming that I was doing to them what they had done to me and what they had been doing to me. So they claimed that I was trying to stalk them. They claimed that I was dangerous. They claimed that I was mentally ill. They claimed that I was violent. They claimed that I was a drug addict. They claimed all these half-truths and lying, pathological lying, and utter projection of what they are and what they were doing, and then they reframe it and they tell the authorities that that's what I'm doing. So from there, my mother was part and parcel with my biological dad, biological brother and sister, and this ex. Those 5 got together to try and use the legal system to try to abuse me, to paint me as being what they are, and to try and alienate my sons from me. So it was legal kidnapping of my youngest son. Not long after that, once my mother knew that I'd outed her and told the truth about her sexually abusing me as a baby, she calls up on the phone and says, "Hi, Curdy," sort of sings it out. Narcissists will overemphasize emotion, and that's one of the red flags of knowing that someone is a fake, that someone doesn't have a personality but has an identity. It's quite common with them to sing words or to overemphasize body language to try and give the impression that they actually have normal human emotions, which they don't. Now, as soon as she greeted me the way she did, my fucking jaw just dropped, because it was like, I realised, I'd come to the realisation and come out of the brainwashing and realised that she'd sexually abused me as a kid. She'd assaulted me as a kid. She'd manipulated, psychological, emotionally abused me as a kid, neglected, parentification, infantilization, all the things that we see with narcissists, sociopaths and psychopaths, parents. So my last conversation with her word for word was, "Listen here, you piece of shit. You're never allowed around the boys and I ever again. Fuck off, psychopath." And then I hung up the phone. So I told her what I know that she is. It's something that outsiders don't understand. People that haven't been abused or don't have experience with psychopaths, is that when I call certain individuals narcissists, sociopaths, or psychopaths, it's not name calling. It's not childish name calling. I'm putting the correct label upon them because of their behaviour. That's what they are. They have no conscience. Take your pick, narcissist, sociopath, psychopath. They mix, they intertwine these personality disorders. Their base traits are very similar, if not exactly the same. So from there, there was the 2 false court cases that were put on me, and they ended up the court cases and the lying to the cops and the lying to the mental health industry to get them onto me and things like that. That's perception control. That's attempting to control my perception about myself, something that I'd woken up to recently at that time. But it's also so they can control the perception of others, because narcissists construct this false self, this lie of what they are. Like my parents, for example, have this family false self that they're good parents, that they're normal, that they're healthy, that they're loving, which is utter fucking bullshit. They are abusers. I'm the only one of their children that's woken up and understands exactly what they are, how they think and how they behave. So this is part and parcel where they can then tell others in the smear campaign and say, oh, we had to call the police on Curtis. We had to, we called the mental health industry on Curtis. We were that afraid of how dangerous he is or mentally ill he is that we got family violence court cases put onto him, rah, rah, rah. What the outsider doesn't understand is that this is the behaviour of psychopathic individuals. This is how they manipulate. This is how they control the perception of others. This is how they construct a web of lies to hide the truth of what they really are. Because narcissists know that they're fucked. They know that they're not normal. They know that they don't feel that. They know that they have no conscience. But they construct that false self, that false character, to try to manipulate, first of all, their own head, their own mind, but also they project that out into the world to control the perception of others, so others don't see them for what they really are, which is cruel, sadistic, lying, pathologized 2-year-olds. So after that, after the phone call from my mother and going through the court cases, and the second court case, the first court case, I just agreed to the terms, so I could let that, get that out of the way, which is not an admission of guilt because I wasn't guilty, but that was so I could focus on the most important court case, which was the one to do with them trying to alienate me from my sons. And just to reiterate, sons who I've been raising for the previous 10 years or so. From there, they after that court case fell through by don't need to get into particulars of that, but my ex, my son's so-called mother, fucked up, and my younger son came back and has been living with me since, happily with me since. And so after a couple of months after that, then I started getting these fucking birthday, Easter and Christmas cards from my cunt mother. So that her participation, I mean, I know she's a psychopath anyway. I know she's a narcissist. There's no disputing that. But that behaviour with calling the police, being part and parcel or taking part in trying to alienate me from my sons, and being part and parcel with lying to the mental health industry and to the courts and all that sort of stuff, just goes to show the lengths that they will go to shut the whistleblower or the scapegoat up when the person starts telling the truth about these people. So I ended up getting a number of cards after waking up from my biological mother, and these cards tell a lot about how her mind works as well. So the first card I got was one of the cards. These aren't in particular order, but these sort of highlight how she works. But she addresses me as Curdy, and Curdy is a childhood nickname. So subtle infantilization. Remember your place. You're a child. You're supposed to behave like a child, or be beneath us because they're parents. So they're up here, I'm down here. And I can't stand being called Curdy or any derivative childhood name because I'm an adult. I'm not a fucking 5-year-old, right? But on top of that, they address their kids and see their own children, regardless of age, as being children because it's part of projective identification as well. My parents are children mentally, or before the 2-year-olds, pathologized 2-year-olds, or you could say stuck in the terrible 2 stage. So they see their children as being children as well, regardless of their age. So anyway, she says, Curdy, I remember how you learned to read using Star Wars books and tapes. I remember how you fought your way from the bottom of the timetables race list to become tables race champ. Be well, be happy, be safe. Happy birthday, love, Mum. So this is after me waking up, realising what she is, speaking about what she is, and then her attempting to her taking part in abuse by proxy using the legal system and other organisations and trying to alienate my sons from me so that she can control the perception of others and keep up the lie that she's normal whilst painting me as being mentally ill. And the average person doesn't understand what psychopathy is, and that is psychopathic behaviour. Shows how sick she is. It shows how fucked in the head she is. So another card. This was given to me on my 40th, or sent to me on my 40th birthday. Dear Curdy, I hope you have a wonderful 40th birthday and you celebrate with people you love and people who love you. Lots of love, Mum. No remorse, no guilt, no shame, no fucking conscience. Here's an Easter card. Happy Easter, Curtis and Jai. Jai's my son's name. I hope the Easter Bunny stops at your place, talking to us like we're fucking children. Love, mother's name. Interesting here, she doesn't say love mum, she says love and then she says her name. So she's changing up her words a little bit. Another Easter card. Dear Curtis and Jai. So now she's changed from saying my name from Curdy to using my correct name, Curtis. I miss you very much. I hope you are both well and happy. Love, Mum/Nanny. And the last card that I kept was a Christmas card. Dear Curtis and Jai, I miss you both very much. I hope you have an enjoyable Christmas with friends and family. Have a happy, prosperous 2016. Love, Mum/Nanny. So from here, from these cards, after laying the foundation of what happened beforehand, me waking up, the abuse by proxy, calling the police, calling the mental health industry, lying to the courts, using the legal system to attempt to alienate myself from my sons and an attempt to paint me as being mentally ill, which is all, as we know, the projection of psychopathic parents. She sends me these fucking cards. Now, I want to talk a little bit about her intent. Why is she doing this? This is partially hoovering. If I was to actually contact her, I'll go back a little bit. This is perception control. Narcissists love to hang their hat on a little bit of truth so they can get away with a big fucking lie. So what she's doing, most likely doing to other people with the smear campaign and that, is to say, poor Curdy this, poor Curdy that, he seems to have problems. We had to call the cops and the mental health industry and the law and put false court cases onto him because he seems to have had a mental breakdown, and he's trying to say that we're psychopaths and rah, rah, rah. How ridiculous is that? Anyway, I love him and miss him so much. I've been sending him and Jai cards, wishing him a happy birthday and a Merry Christmas. I just hope that he's able to sort through his problems and he gets back into contact with me. So she's using these cards to hang her hat on to lie to people outside who don't understand what a narcissist, sociopath or psychopath is. On top of that, if I was to take the bait and actually be stupid and get into contact with this cunt, then she would use that. I mean, it doesn't matter which way I responded. Let's say I gave her a call and just gave it to her. Listen here, you stupid bitch, you psychopathic, child-abusing, molestering cunt, rah, 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 and just went off at her, just gave it to her. Then she would use that as ammunition to tell others that, he's crazy, he called me up and he said this and he said that and rah, 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 rah. So she would use that as ammunition to smear me as being mentally ill. And to an outsider who doesn't understand narcissism, sociopathy and psychopathy, they would believe her bullshit. They don't know the difference between when they've been lied to or when they've been told the truth. Someone who hasn't been abused by psychopaths has a very limited understanding of how the human mind works. They have a very limited understanding of being able to discern the difference between fake body language, fake micro expressions, behaviour, when someone's pretending to be something they're not, and when someone's a pathological liar. So, and then if I was to call her up and actually try and get back into contact with her and try and have some sort of relationship, which is impossible when someone has no conscience. But if I was to do that, she would further use that to say, well, he gave me a call and we're going to go out for lunch and rah, 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 rah. But that's also to control the perception of outsiders, to uphold that false self that she has, that she is normal, when the reality is she's not. She's a narc, she's a psychopath, she's a sociopath. She has no conscience, and that she, abused myself for the majority of my life. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope that this video makes sense, that it helps someone out there. I'm just trying to illustrate or show how we know that narcissists will show themselves for what they really are, through their language, through how they behave. And this is an example of her doing this. Like I said in one of my videos, they've shown me right from once I wake up, they've shown me from as early as 3 years old all the way through to today that they have no conscience, that they are feral, pathetic, vile excuses for parents, let alone human beings. In fact, I would argue that they aren't human beings at all, because they don't have the mental part that actually makes somebody human. They don't have empathy, they don't have love, they don't have compassion. In its place, they have emptiness, rage, anger, hatred, sadistic impulses, borderline murderous impulses, and will abuse whoever gets caught up in their lies and their bullshit. So hopefully that helps someone out there to get some validation with their own abusers. And I also want to point out that the longer that you are no contact, this illustrates too how important it is to be no contact with these people. These people are incredibly sick. They have roughly a third of their brain that does not work. Have a look at the brain scans of psychopaths. When I see behaviour like this, I know what sort of brain is encased inside their head. And that should hopefully verify the importance of being no contact with these people, how dangerous they are. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there. I hope this video helps. I hope you're making progress in your healing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening and watching. And I hope you have a great day.